Hello, hello, hello. It's Friday afternoon. It's Cricbuzz live time. The magic number for the day, since it's Diwali, everyone's playing Tambola and Housey. The magic number is 438. Why, you ask? I have no idea. I hate mathematics. I was always terrible at mathematics in school. I have boycotted, banned mathematics from my life years ago. Joy Bhattacharjya here, who is a scholar on everything on this planet, shall tell us why 438 is such a big number today.
Yeah, I think it's 438 or 439. I think it's a decimal somewhere in between that, so it must be one of the two. But anyway, that's if they are batting first.
Who they?
If Afghanistan is batting first, that's what they need to beat South Africa by to have a chance of entering the semi-finals and basically crossing New Zealand's run rate. And ask what happens if it's the other way around.
What?
Suppose they score 0, you bowled really well, you bowled them out for 0, you bowl South Africa out for 0, okay? And then you bowl a wide. Even then you can't. Even if they bowl a wide first ball, that means you've not at all, not even bothered there's 0.0 balls have been bowled. Even then New Zealand is through.
Thank you for watching. That's all for us for now. We will see you. No, got a show to do. South Africa, Afghanistan. They're playing in Ahmedabad. South Africa have already qualified for that semi-final that will be played against Ahmedabad in Kolkata. That is. Michael Vaughan has joined us. How was paddleball?
I've actually had a couple of days off the paddle court. I've been trying to look after my body. I've had a few aches and pains, but I've been down the Willingdon Golf Club having a bit of dinner, so it was nice yesterday watching the game. I was thinking about you all in the studios as Sri Lanka were collapsing, thinking, oh, you're going to have a short day. Then that partnership came, and it was a bit longer than you expected.
Lovely, lovely partnership. All of us thoroughly enjoyed it. For now, though, let's focus on Afghanistan and what they've done in this World Cup so far. Michael, did you expect Afghanistan to do what they have in this World Cup? 4 wins. They've come very, very close to qualifying. We all know they won't. But among the other bigger teams, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan have been way, way better than those two.
Oh, they've been fantastic. I mean, if you look at their performances, the teams that they've beaten, they should have beaten Australia. It was fielding a little bit of the tactical side that let them down, and what's been described as the greatest ODI innings of all time. So, I think they'll look back at that first game against Bangladesh where they were a little bit short in terms of their performance levels. If they'd have won that game, I know everyone's looking at the Australian game that they should have won, but if they'd have beaten Bangladesh in the first game, they would have been on 10 points and they'd have had a great chance of making the semi-finals. But I think at the start of the tournament, if you had all the Afghanistan group in a room and the coaching department and said, look, you'd win 4 games of cricket and you were going into the last game against South Africa to win a 5th, I think they'd have ripped your hands off. So they've been fantastic. All their players have played this kind of... it's been quite a simple game with the bat. They play quite a conventional game with the bat in hand, and then with those spinners, they've got world-class spinners that can cause any team in the world trouble. So they've been, I guess, the talk of the tournament have been Afghanistan because of what they've brought. India have been by far the best team, way ahead of everyone else in terms of playing and performance levels. But I think Afghanistan have been the fantastic story of this World Cup.
Over the years, the word flash has often been used for Afghanistan. We've all said, oh, they have these mavericks in their lineup. But this World Cup has shown us that Afghanistan can also be stable. They can follow processes. They can be a lot more reliable. I mean, if you look at their history in multi-nation tournaments, they've had a lot of near misses. And would you attribute that to perhaps not having as much game awareness? Are they on that path to getting better?
Interesting you say that, because if you look at that again, lots of close results, lots of 11 runs, 3 wickets, 1 wicket, 4 runs, 2 runs, all these the match against Australia. Look, the truth of it is that I don't think they've been close for a very long time, but my feeling is that it is in this tournament that we've seen them emerge as a 50-over batting side. Yeah. They always played the 20-over version well. If you look at the 20-over records, the highest winning streak in history, of course, it's a lot of associate countries, is Afghanistan with about 15. But what they never did well was construct innings. Because, when you're playing a 50-over match, it's not a test match, but still, you bat a bit, you see conditions through. If a Trent Bolt or a Shaheen Shah Afridi is there, you see him through. Then you work the spinners down. Then you go for an assault in the end. It's not like T20 cricket where, first ball you're going bang, bang, bang. You're trying to hit them out of the ground. So that skill or that craft of saying that we're going to construct 50 over innings they never had. So they always had the bowling, but they never had the batting that consistently delivered. The change in Afghanistan in this tournament has been that their batting has come to the party. Their batting has never come to the party like that. What has happened before is, in a tournament, because in the last year we've seen signs that, of course, their batting has come to the tournament, come in parts, but Cricbuzz would score one, somebody else would score a big one. But together today, they're chasing. And remember the first thing we said, early in the tournament, we said, this is a team that is not good at chasing because they don't know how to construct chases. But they nervelessly went through two absolutely fantastic chases. Yeah. And I think that is what tells you that this has really matured as a unit. Yeah. And I'd like to think Ajay Jadeja there would have helped. Jonathan Trotty, they have a huge, very high opinion of him. He's really been good for them. They've helped out. But I think that is the big difference. The batting learning how to construct big innings.
Yes, they've been a lot about flash and flair in the past. And being able to close games. Michael, is that aspect of their cricket still work in progress? They had the opposition down 91 for 7 and then allowed Maxwell to do what he did. Is it still work in progress? Yeah, A. And B, how does a team learn how to close games?
Yeah, and I was at the Wankhede for that game and you could see there was panic. You could see that even with 90 runs to get, the Afghanistan fielders were just at each other. They were pointing the fingers. There was a few fumbles. Fielding was a big issue in Mujib's catch. Maxi Lapslog went off Rashid Khan. It just looped over extra cover. The captain nearly took a one-hander. But, yeah, the fielding just let them down. And that's just, the pressure of the situation. Probably the desperation to win. You can sometimes be so desperate to win that it becomes that much more difficult. And, if at the start of the tournament you'd have thought we'd have been sat in, the only thing that we would have been pointing the finger at Afghanistan is that they don't quite have the nerve at the back end against a powerhouse like Australia. Well, again, I think they'd have taken that. They've moved on hugely in terms of their game. Their process, as you mentioned, their process with the bat is very, very simple. We've seen the whiteboard, and it's 50 after 10, 100 after 20. And I think that's given their batting team a lot of clarity. I don't think they're a batting team that can get 330, 350. If you look at their chases, 240s, 270s, they got 290 odd with a Rashid Khan cameo at the back end, so that got them to a really good number. But I don't think they're a 330, 350 because I don't think they have the skill set at the minute to get that number. But if it's a 250, 280 kind of chase, they can just play conventionally. They can stick to the process of the whiteboard and then they can exploit in those last 10 overs, which is pretty much what their game is all about.
Our very own Harsha Bhogle was at the toss. Afghanistan won the toss and in a microsecond, they said, we will bat first. I suppose unfinished business from that last game. Have they worried about dew and pitch and things like that? No, or is it just saying, let's go out on a high? Let's
No, I think they're just telling themselves that even if it is they owe themselves the thing that even if there's that loss of chance that I have to reach 500 odd runs and then beat them by 438 runs, even if that is the smallest chance there is, it is their business to take it and give themselves a chance, however minuscule it is. You see, if they're bowling first, there's no chance at all. The chances are zero. So they have to bat first. Sure. That's the basic idea. So if they have to bat first, they're trying to bat first. I will be very interested in two things. I will be very interested because you're absolutely right. That's their template, 10 and 50. And I think they've mentioned it also, 50 in 10, 120, and then you slowly accelerate and you make your way through. Yeah. It's a 240, 250 with whatever you add on in the end, whoever can, whack a few balls out there. But today, if they have to give themselves a chance, they have to score 500. Now, what do they do? Do they go for it from start or do they say, forget it, what we really want out of this tournament is to try and win against South Africa. It'll be a great thing to win against South Africa and not do it. So how they approach this game from here on, and we'll make in the first 5 overs, because you're right, I don't think they have the ability to score a 500. They're not a 350 team, leave alone a 500 team. Yeah. I mean, there are no 500 teams, or perhaps they are and we don't know about it. But that's what I'm saying, that's exactly what we will be interested in seeing. The other interesting part to it, Michael, was that we were thinking about South Africa and we were discussing it yesterday and we said, what do you do if you're South Africa? Do you bat first or do you bowl first? I mean, it's about testing because this, you're anyway going to play it. Do you say that, okay, I'm going to try and win and say just do what I do well, which is bat first, put runs on the table and win? Or do I say that, I need to test myself chasing and I do? Okay. Either way, it's not a good decision.
Yeah, I think it's the right. I mean, Afghanistan have made a decision, so South Africa didn't have an option. But I think it's the right thing for South Africa to be chasing today.
Yeah.
Because they have struggled chasing. If they can win today, chasing at the final venue, you're looking at a South African side that are playing at Ahmedabad a week and a bit before the final. If they can get into the final, they've played on that venue. I think chasing's a good option on this venue anyway, because the due factor does come into play. Just on Afghanistan, I'm just looking at those processes of 50. Can they get to 55 and 110 after 20? Just add 5 more onto every little stage. Will Jonathan? They're not going to go for the 500. They just won't do that. I know Jonathan Trott too well. It'll just be about winning this game of cricket, getting 5 wins, getting to 10 points, and everyone's going to laud how well they've played in this World Cup. But can they just push those barriers to 5 or 7 more runs per segment? And if you do that over the course of 5, 10 over segments, that's another 35, 40 runs onto the total, which could get them to 310 and 320, which is their next stage as a team, is to go and get those bigger scores.
And they've gone in unchanged for this game against South Africa. Let's take a look at their 11. A lot of us expected that one change. Naveen ul Haq is still there, no Fazal Haq Farooqi. And so they've gone in with Noor, Mujib, Rashid and Nabi as the 4 spinners. Good call, or would you have brought in Fazal Haq Farooqi?
Well, I think on this venue, I mean, I've seen a bit of seam, bit of swing, but also spin. I just think they're playing to their strength. I think the spin quartet are outstanding. They've got a lot of experience. They've got a bit of mystery. Yep. I think it's the right way to go for Afghanistan is to challenge South Africa with all the spinners. Whether the ball skids on later on under the lights in Ahmedabad, we'll have to wait and see. But I think for Afghanistan, it's the right approach for them.
And the fact that Omar Zai is bowling reasonably well has allowed them to go with a spin-heavy attack as well.
Exactly. Please that, both your front-end spinners play for the Gujarat Titans. They've played 7 matches. They've played all those matches in this ground. Both Noor Ahmed, and they both play on a regular basis for Gujarat. So they know how to bowl in conditions like this. They've been used even to the dew that they have out here. Perhaps the dew is a bit more in this time of the year. But you're still going to they're used to bowling with dew. Remember one more thing. And I think this is something we don't, look at that often. That when does the dew come in actually? So dew comes in at about 8:30.
Yes.
So that for an IPL game is halfway through the first batting.
Yep.
Here you finish by about 6:15. So you will get about 20 overs in before the dew comes in.
Yep.
Which means that you might be able to get about 5-6 overs each of somebody like a Noor Ahmed or a Rashid before the dew really sets in.
South Africa have made 2 changes. They've rested. That's what the captain said at the toss. They've rested Tabrez Shamsi and Marco Jansen. In come Jaral Kudze, the very highly rated Jaral Kudze, and a player whose name I can never pronounce. Michael, have a go at it.
Philip
Kuwayo.
Oh yeah, he's good all rounder. Yeah, he's good. I don't. It doesn't surprise me that they're resting Jansen. he's their trump card. Nagidi's obviously got a problem. Jansen's been outstanding. So maybe on the back of India, put him around a little bit. He just needs a breather. But when you're in a semi-final already, and you've got your trump card, who might be just a little bit. He's a young kid. You've got to look after the young bowler. Doesn't surprise me at all that they're resting him.
Well, Lungi and Giri and Rabara there as well, so all's good there. We thought there'll be one change there as well, but no.
So yeah, that's interesting because that means Ngidi is fit, and we were hearing that Ngidi may not be fit. It's interesting because Fekluwakyo, my apologies. His coming in basically is exactly not just physically resting him, but maybe mentally resting somebody who suddenly at the age of 21, 22 has become the main player in a tournament, which is a really, really big thing. I mean, at that age to emerge, and it's not just with the ball that he's done it with the bat. And I think they really need him to be full guns because the semi-final in Calcutta, the balls, it'll be interesting to see again also what Calcutta pitch turns up. Because the Calcutta pitch that turned up in the last match was a very, very interesting pitch. It turned, the amount of turn both sides got was absolutely this thing. So I'll be very interested in seeing which Calcutta pitch turns up.
Well, they came up against a very upbeat Indian team in Kolkata and they lost by a massive 243-run margin, I think it was. That's the one, that last one on the 5th of November against India. 243-run margin of defeat. Is that going to perhaps set a certain panic in the ranks, or you reckon they'll be able to push it aside and say, forget about it with the semis?
I think what South Africa need today is a good performance. Sometimes the result, the opposition played better than you, but I think against India, they'll be the first to admit they were nowhere near. With the ball to start with, yes, the pitch was pretty good in the afternoon, but I thought the tactical side of Temba Bavuma, particularly when Maharaj was spinning it square, he didn't squeeze and he allowed that partnership, Shreyas Iyer and Virat, just to kind of knock it around without challenging them to hit over the top. So I think South Africa need a good performance. They're the kind of side that I think thrive on confidence as a group. When they got on that winning run, they kind of just went into the next game, batted first, and obviously put big scores on the board. Chasing is an issue. It's not a point as we're just talking. It is an issue for South Africa because they've stumbled against India, they stumbled against the Netherlands, and they only just got over the line against Pakistan. So it certainly is an issue. But you never know. I mean, if they get to the semi-final and the coin goes down the right way, they're going to be a massive threat. But if it goes down the other way and they have to chase, that's why tonight's very important for them to get a good performance. And so they can get a good performance and win chasing, and not just winning by chasing 200.
Yeah.
If they can chase 280, 300, I think that will give South Africa a massive boost going into the semi-finals.
Seems like a good toss to lose.
Good cost to lose, because I said, chasing, and if you were in trouble, then they'd just say, you're digging yourself into a deeper hole. But I want to ask you this, because this is one thing that everyone has been talking about. What that Maharaj, Shamsi, that period, the openers are out, they've given India a very fast start. What all did they do wrong? I mean, at that point in time, where did they go wrong exactly?
Well, I just think for Maharaj, who bowled that beautiful delivery to get rid of Shubman Gill, he was their trump card in terms of getting wickets. So when you've got, sometimes the day the ball's swinging around, so your seamers are your trump card. So as a captain, you have to realise that you put a slip in place, you might squeeze with a tighter inner field. On that occasion, Maharaj was the trump card. Shamsi didn't bowl well. He bowled too many short stuff and they played him beautifully. I think it was Shreyas who kept on hitting him over mid-off for 6. Played him great, kept on picking the googly, going away, go, thank you very much. But Maharaj is so consistent. And when it's going like that and going square, I think Temba should have just got a little bit more tight with his field, maybe put a slip, man on the drive at extra cover, bring mid-on, mid-off, go on, try and hit me over the top. He didn't do that. He allowed just to rotate on. He went for 31, no boundaries. So India realised he was the trump card and probably the bowler that could potentially have got 2, 3 and 4 wickets. So they just went, thank you very much, didn't risk anything. And mid-on was always back, so they kept on pumping him down the ground for 1. And I think there is the moment for a captain to go, this is my trump card. And it might be another day where it's the seamers and it might be another day it's the spinners. You've got to realise who your trump card is on the given pitch.
One man that didn't play that game, Jural Kodze, is back in the lineup today. Only 23 years of age, made his debut in March this year. Some are saying he reminds them of the great Dale Steyn. Do you see that similarity?
Oh, I hope not.
It's too early, is it not?
Well, I hope not. I mean, Dale used to knock my off stump out on a regular basis, but Dale Steyn's a world beater, absolute great at the game. I think he's really good, Coetzee. I think he's got a great future, but I don't quite see him as Dale Steyn just yet.
We would be doing great disservice to him by making that comparison.
A, that B is that, look, he's also, if you see the way they're using him, they're trying to use him in a different role. They normally don't give him the ball up front. And again, we've been talking about this entire tournament about having that enforcer bowler in the middle. Take a look at that. Zampa, Santner, Keshavara, these are the most effective guys who come in between 11 and 40. And this is what is the difference maker, because what is happening to a lot is, so what Cricbuzz is giving them is consistent wickets in the middle at a fairly decent, and he's the only pacer. Look at them. All the rest are spinners who are coming in when the ball's, getting a bit slower. He's the only pacer who's done this. And remember, this is a big role. Who are the other guys who are supposed to play this role? Lockie's done it well enough, because I think Lockie's still giving them results, but he's been injured, he's been in and out. And there are days they haven't played him because they couldn't, the balance couldn't afford it. But Harris Trough is gone. Okay, Mark Wood is supposed to do this, get the ball in the 11th, 12th over and be the enforcer in the middle. So having that middle enforcer is very vital. And I think none of them have done it well. He's the only fast bowler in this tournament who's really done the middle over enforcing well. Because technically, India doesn't use Shami in the 11th. Technically, Shami comes in 7th, 8th over one side, he'll start bowling from, one end. Whereas Cricbuzz is almost invariably used, he won't bowl more than a single over before 10. That's how they normally use him. And I think that's a problem, that his 11 to 40 record is one of the reasons why South Africa has done so well. They set up big scores. There's pressure up front. There's a bit of swing up front. Jansen and swing it. And then Rabada and he come on. And it's very difficult to get them away.
Do you see him playing in the semi-final in Kolkata? Didn't play the last time in Kolkata against India.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Shamsi. I think the captain said he's rested as well. He bowled he bowled poorly against India. And then you're back at the same venue for the semi-final. Look, if it's spinning, you have to play two spinners. I don't think you can just go, Shamsi in the last game didn't bowl well enough. Against Australia, I think spin to win. Yes, Glenn Maxwell is an incredible hitter of spin, genius. But you shouldn't really be concerned that Glenn Maxwell's just played the greatest innings of all time and then think, we can't play spin because of Glenn Maxwell. If I was South Africa, we're going, wait a minute, Afghanistan had them 91 for 7. They had Australia 91 for 7, and a lot of that was, yes, there was great seam bowling at the start, but the spinners were doing a magnificent job. And if Mujeeb had taken that catch off Glenn Maxwell when he was on 30 odd, Australia would have lost that game by 150, and the spinners would have wrapped up the innings for Afghanistan. So for me, South Africa have to play the spinners on that pitch in Calcutta against Australia.
In this game, though, since Marco Jansen has been rested, do you still bowl Coates in the middle overs, or do you give him the new ball?
No, I think you stick your roles. I think it's important in any format of the game that, particularly when roles have been defined and done well. And Courtesy, as Joy was mentioning, has been terrific in the middle. 12 wickets for a seamer on Indian wickets from 10 is magnificent. So I certainly wouldn't be changing his role. I think it's the likes of Rabada, Nagidi will take the new cherry and try and get them off to a flying start, and they'll leave Courtesy for that enforcer role in the middle, which is probably the hardest role. These white balls have been swinging around, so up front it's been quite a good time to be bowling. It's always hard when you're reacting to the game. So you then have, as a bowler, has to react to the start, whether it's a good start by a team or you're trying to drag it back because your team have been hit to all parts. So that's why Courtesy's role for South Africa today should stay exactly
the reason
same.
I asked you that question is because Rabada has mostly been bowled first change. Now that Jansen isn't around, do you say Rabada, as the more senior pro, takes the new ball? Do you bowl him first change? Maybe go take Coates as the first two bowlers? What do you do?
Well, his record's tremendous in the first 10. So, look at that average. An average of 15, 4 wickets from 11 overs, which is, look at a strike rate of 16.5. So I would think Rabada's going to be saying to the skipper, I'm sorry, but I'm having that brand new white ball. You pretty much know with Rabada, he'll set the tone. It was the over against Virat, actually, in the game at Calcutta. And he got Virat jumping around. He beat the outside edge on a couple of occasions. He was the seamer on that day that actually stood out. Jansen struggled. Nagidi struggled. But Rabada is different class. When he's right, I think he's up there with the best. When he's running in and he's getting those legs high and he's just releasing it with a real kind of effortless motion, I think he's right up there with the best bowlers in the world.
Joy, you've been a part of a team that needs to be managed where there are a lot of prima donnas and big stars. When you know that there are 3 or 4 bowlers in your lineup that want to bowl with the new ball, but you can only have 2, is that conversation difficult with the one that's going to be first change or second change?
Yeah, but you need to have that conversation. And I think the biggest thing that happens in all these cases is when you have that conversation. I think what bowlers hate is they like to know, they like to make their plans in their mind. They like to think, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. So they need to, it's a very good idea as a captain or as the bowling, all these franchises have, bowling captains and fielding captains as well, and batting captains. And so they have that conversation saying, you're probably going to come with the first new ball. This is why, because this, and they would have told him this. It probably would have said that Jansen is right now, we need Jansen to do it because Jansen can't do what you do later, which of course is a logic that you don't always appreciate, saying that just because I can bowl well in both phases, you're not giving the ball because that guy can't bowl slightly later. And I think that's one of those things. But you need to have these conversations before. You don't go into a match and say, Rabada wondering whether he'll get the new ball and toss it to somebody else. You don't go there. And I think it's important for those plans to be discussed up front. I've seen in the teams that has not been discussed, I've seen really players go off the boil. Where, they're clear about it, at least they know this is why they're getting the ball and this is when they're getting the ball. So they're mentally prepared for it.
Whoever gets the new ball will have to bowl against someone who's been in Zen mode, Ibrahim Zadran. He seems to be the perfect foil to someone like a Remanullah Gurbaz who likes to go big straight away. Now, what a great story he has been for Afghanistan. Look at that, 1,272 runs, a solid average as well, 53. Only 21 years of age. Michael, what have you made of this man's exploits at the World Cup?
Yeah, just look at those numbers again. Gurbaz, who is known as a real explosive player, he's only striking at 87 and Zadran's striking at 82, so he's not far behind. He's just played with great control. He's got a good technique. I don't think he goes chasing the wild shots. He didn't look to hit the ball over the top. early in his innings. He just plays good conventional strokes. I think his mindset is very much to bat a long period of time in 50-over cricket. I think that is his role in the side, to say, there you go, you go and bat for 30, 40 overs and the rest can bat around you. And it doesn't surprise me that with the Jonathan Trott team that he has kind of gifted this role to a player like Zadran, because he's got a good technique, he plays the seam as well, he's quite solid against the spinners, he doesn't play the tricks, but he just kind of manoeuvres the ball into the gap. What impressed me in the game against Australia at the Wankhede, he got to 100 very conventionally. I think his last 24 runs were singles. He just wanted to get that 100. The first Afghanistan player to get a World Cup 100. It was fantastic. But as soon as he got to 100, he suddenly started to bat like Viv Richards. Now, for him to kind of go up in the gears in terms of being an outstanding player, can he get into that mode when he gets to 50 and 60? Can he play conventionally to 50? And then can he start to go up in the gears and start to exploit a little bit more risk and start to hit the sixes? Because, let's be honest, white ball cricket, 50 overs, if you actually look at the sixes count in this World Cup, and every World Cup it's going up and up and up and up and up. So it's very clear to me that if you can hit sixes, you've got to be able to do so, because that is the modern game. And when he got to 100, I think he hit 3 sixes on after getting 100, and they were big. Yeah. I think, can you do that a little bit sooner?
Should he?
No, I think he should. Yeah, in this game, yeah. I mean, there's 5 fielders in the circle. There's always one area of the ground that you can target. And when he hit those sixes, they were effortless. Just poof, straight over mid-wicket, 6. He flicked one over the stands, off the seamer, over square leg. So he can do it. I mean, some players, I don't understand it. They just want to kind of play within themselves and maybe a bit fearful of taking on too much of a risk because it might lose them the wicket. But he certainly looks like he's got the game that he might be able to go up in the gears that little bit sooner.
The kind of player he is and the kind of success he's had perhaps tells us that there is room for such players in one-day cricket. There is, in fact, need for a player like this in
one-day cricket, and that's what's happening. You see, because of 20-over cricket, the one-day averages have gone through the roof. So today, if you look at, one-day cricket has been played from 71 and probably on a fairly regular basis since 75. And of the top 10 players in terms of batting average in one-day international cricket, 6 of them are current players, okay, of which one of them is Zadran. So that's what I'm saying. You're getting batting averages that, like, you get, Virat in his 50s, Shubman Gill in his 50s, him in his 50s. I mean, these are batting averages you couldn't have thought about, People like Viv Richards and all would struggle to get a batting average just past 50, and you'd say he's a great. He's he's probably still the all-time greatest ODI batsman, unless Virat hasn't crossed him. I mean, for me, Viv Richards is something different. But what I'm trying to say is that averages have gone up, and remember one more thing, and I'm saying this very, very calmly, that there's not going to be too much one-day cricket on offer between now and the 2025 Champions Trophy. Yeah. Okay. So if Zadran, and therefore Zadran is looked on as a very good player, but as a prospect for T20 leagues at this point in time, Cricbuzz is far ahead of him. Okay. So forget everything else. Economics will ensure, if he starts showing people that he can tee off a bit earlier, and he doesn't need to tee off at 1 or straight off like Cricbuzz does, but maybe in his 30s, 40s or 50s, that might give him a far larger opportunity. That's the reality of it. Yeah. That there's not going to be that much more one-day cricket on offer. Right now, his game is tailored to a one-day team who's, as Michael has said it so succinctly, scores 250 plus. So that plus depends on how well they go in the last 5-10 overs.
And he's been an important part of Captain Shahid's plans, who's also been among the runs. I think he took over the captaincy in March earlier this year, and these are his numbers in the World Cup. A dressing room is happier when the leader is doing well.
Yeah, I mean, he's solid, isn't he? His strike rate's at 73, but that's, again, it's a role that the Afghanistan management have given him. He's there as a left-hander in the middle, rotate the strike. He doesn't hit massive balls. He just kind of looks to bat a bit of time. It's just their blueprint. Their blueprint is to bat the 50 overs, and it's just to keep hitting these targets. I mean, to hit targets at 5 and over, when there's so many gaps, it's not that difficult to do. But I guess in the past, Afghanistan have found it difficult to bat the 50 overs. They've made mistakes, and players have got to 20 and 30 and got out. So this process at the minute for this group of Afghanistan batters is working for them to get just a good score. Yeah. I don't think they're trying to get the incredible score. They're just saying, we get a good score, and with our bowling attack, they're going to win more than they're not. Because, you look at the World Cup, they've won 4, they should have won 5. Yeah. That score at the Wankhede, 291, was plenty. against Australia if they'd have caught the ball.
I think 2 or 3 or 4 teams have had to worry too much about net run rate, and we keep getting questions around net run rate as well. We'll try and take that question in the mid-show, but today is more about just playing freely, enjoying yourselves, because there will be no tomorrow. That 438 equation isn't happening, Joy.
Yeah, it hasn't happened. Look, I just say that Bat, show us why we thought you were such a great team throughout this tournament. Finish well.
Finish on a high.
Yeah.
And we do that as well on this show, because at the end of the show we go to Joy Factor. I hope it's an easy one today. What is it?
Among current men's one-day international batters who've scored at least 1,000 runs, who's the only player to have scored as many centuries as 50s? That means that's a terrific conversion rate. That means if every time, you get as many 50s as you get centuries, that means there's a 50% chance every time you reach a 50 that you'll reach a century. That's terrific. Even Virat Kohli doesn't have that conversion rate.
Wow, has to be a special player. It's Friday. I know most of you don't want to work. It's also Diwali season, so forget about work, forget about those presentations, get cracking and try and send us this answer on Twitter. Make sure you tag Mr. Bhattacharjya, Mr. Michael Vaughan, even if you are Mohammad Hafiz or...
Are we not playing the guessing game about...
Oh, we should.
Yes, come on.
We should, go for it.
I go 250.
250, okay. 271.
I like Afghanistan, 291.
Ooh.
Once again, 291. Maybe this time they will.
And then David Miller will get 200 not out.
With one leg or 2 legs?
He'll have to do it with 2 this time.
Yeah, well, that's it for now. South Africa versus Afghanistan. Afghanistan have won the toss. They're batting first. Enjoy the game. We'll see you on Cricbuzz Combox after 15. Bye for now.